making headlines. The president emphasizes there should be no discrimination in employment or job performance based on a person's choice of dress as long as it aligns with Islamic principles. The education minister states that the grant of $9.5 million will provide a comprehensive solution to the problems in the education sector. And the Islamic minister is appointed as a member of the International Academy of Islamic Fiqh of the OIC.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to PSM News. I'm your host Malak Ahmad Fayaz. Now for the news in detail. President Dr. Mohammad Moiso emphasizes there should be no discrimination in employment or job performance based on a person's choice of dress, as long as it aligns with Islamic principles. The President's remarks follow a decision by the Department of Judicial Administration (DJA) not to hire women for position at the Hulu Delhi Magistrates Court because she wears a niqab. In a social media post, President Moiso stated that individuals should not face discrimination in the workplace for wearing attire as long as the person adheres to Islamic guidelines. The President called for changes to any rules and regulations that contribute to such discrimination, noting that he has instructed the relevant authorities to address the issue. The President urged the public and institutions to work towards creating a society that upholds justice and fairness in every sense. Meanwhile, Minister of Islamic Affairs Dr. Muhammad Shahim Ali Saeed also expressed concern over the denial of employment based on the wearing of a niqab. Dr. Shahim stated wearing a niqab should not deprive individuals of their jobs and emphasized that a civilized society can be built by ensuring rights for everyone. He pointed out many educated women wear the niqab and urged the Civil Service Commission (CSC) to ensure their right to employment. Minister of Education Dr. Ismail Shafiu states that the grant of $9.5 million will provide a comprehensive solution to the problems in the education sector. The minister made the remarks during the ceremony held to inaugurate the Revolutionary Change in Education project. Speaking at the ceremony, Minister Shafiu noted the decrease in the percentage of students passing the O-level examination in the past 10 years. He also added that the number of students that complete A-level and join universities for higher education has also been decreasing. Citing the budget of the government allocated for education, the Education Minister said that these numbers are a major concern. Adding that this is not a problem that can be ignored, Minister Shafiu stated that the desired results cannot be achieved unless the quality of teachers is raised. Disclosing that more than 2,700 teachers are still needed for the schools in Maldives, Minister Shafiu assured that the government would address these challenges and bring about a positive change in the education sector. Revolutionary Change in Education was inaugurated by the Vice President, Hussein Mohammad Latif. Under the project, the Global Partnership for Education (GPE) has provided the government with 3 grants worth $9.5 million. As such, $5 million was received as System Transformation Grant, $1.5 million was received as System Capacity Grant, and $3 million was received as Multiplier Grant. With this grant aids, the government will be establishing schools developing educational management skills, educational planning and financing, as well as training and fielding of teachers. Additionally, the government will be introducing a new education management information system to formulate education policies. The Global Partnership for Education is the largest private education funding organization in the world. Maldives is a member of the Board of Directors of GPE for the term 2024 January to 2026 December. Minister of Islamic Affairs Dr. Muhammad Shahim Ali Saeed is appointed as a member of the International Academy of Islamic Fiqh of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation (OIC). His appointment was confirmed during the Academy's administrative meeting held on August 8. The OIC Fiqh Academy, established in 1981, is a platform that addresses religious disputes and significant issues within the Islamic world, aiming to provide the best religious decisions. The Academy includes 57 member states of the OIC. Dr. Shaheen brings extensive experience to the role, having previously served as advisor to the Secretary General of the OIC and head of the Voice of Wisdom Center. The Maldives, an active member of the OIC, continues to play a significant role in key discussions and decisions within the organization, which is the largest entity working for peace and stability in Islamic countries. Minister of Health Dr. Abdullah Khalil announces plans to establish a convenient system for reporting issues related to food manufacturers as part of the government's ongoing efforts to ensure food security. The announcement was made during a press conference where the minister outlined the steps being taken to enhance food safety in the Maldives.
The Food Safety Act introduces stringent regulations aimed at improving the safety of food imports and exports. The act is set to take effect on August 23rd. During the press conference, Minister Khalil emphasized his commitment to protecting the public's food supply. He noted that the transitional regulations for the registration of food service establishments under the Food Safety Act would be published in the Government Gazette on August 23rd. The Act establishes comprehensive standards and procedures for the registration, licensing and regulation of food preparation, import, export, sales and service establishments. It also outlines penalties for public health hazards and violations of these standards. Minister Khalil highlighted the penalties for non-compliance with the Act, which includes fines ranging from $648 to $3,200. Foreign manufacturers found to be in violation of the Act may face deportation and further legal action. He acknowledged the current challenges in tracking individuals who produce and sell food due to the requirement of a court order to take action. However, he assured that the new law would address these issues, making it easier to identify and hold accountable those responsible for food safety violations. In addition, the minister announced that food manufacturers, including online establishments, would be required to display a license number on their product labels.
Minister of Health Dr. Abdullah Khalil reveals that a state-of-the-art health laboratory will be established during the term. The land necessary for the development has already been secured and handed over to the Ministry of Health.
Food safety has not received adequate attention in the Maldives, largely due to the absence of a proper laboratory. However, with the implementation of the new Food Safety Act, the Health Ministry is now mandated to establish a laboratory capable of conducting all food-related tests and analysis. Discussing the impact of the new act, Minister Khalil emphasized that the laboratory will be equipped to analyze food, medicines and other public health concerns. He said the development of the lab is part of the project's first phase, with the design expected to be finalized soon. He said that the land has been allocated and the laboratory will be established to ensure the highest standards in food safety and the testing of medicines and public health issues. The Food Safety Act requires the new laboratory to be capable of testing food imported into or exported from the Maldives as well as food produced domestically. The laboratory must also have the capacity to assess the health and safety of food manufacturing and packaging facilities, warehouses, storage facilities and food vendors. The law stipulates that the tests and standards to be upheld by the laboratory, which will operate under the Maldives Food and Drug Authority (MFDA), must be detailed in a regulation. The Act also authorizes the MFDA to establish guidelines ensuring that tests which cannot be conducted in the Maldives can be carried out either in another local laboratory or at referral laboratories abroad. Currently, food imports by sea are tested in the MPL harbour area, while air freight food is inspected at Velana International Airport (VIA). Some necessary scientific analyses are also conducted at the MFDA laboratory, with additional tests being sent abroad.
Minister of Housing, Land and Urban Development Dr. Ali Haider Ahmad highlights that the greatest challenge to achieving the Sustainable Development Goals (SDGs) is the cost of debt repayment, which surpasses spending on education and public health. He made the remarks during the United Nations UN Economic and Social Survey of Asia and the Pacific 2024 dialogue. The dialogue is being held in collaboration with the Ministry of Housing, Land and Urban Development, the UN Economic and Social Commission for Asia and the Pacific, ESCAPE and the Maldives National University, MNU. The event aims to evaluate the progress of countries in achieving the SDGs and to address the challenges they face in reaching these targets. Speaking at the opening ceremony, Minister Haider expressed concern about the widespread impact of economic challenges on the country. He noted that the primary sector of the Maldives, tourism, remains vulnerable due to slow job creation and rising living costs. He also pointed out the increase in frequency of climate change and natural disasters is directly affecting the livelihoods and infrastructure of the Maldivian citizens. Additionally, Minister Haider cited regional studies indicating that so far, only 17% of the SDGs have been achieved in the Maldives. He emphasized that it is a troubling outcome for a developing nation like the Maldives. He noted that the financial situation and rising debt are the most significant obstacles to achieving the SDGs, with the financial gap for developing countries estimated at $4 trillion annually. He said that countries like the Maldives often rely on borrowing to sustain their efforts, sometimes spending more on debt servicing than on critical sectors like education and health. He also said it could lead to increased government debt, limiting the country's ability to invest in sustainable development. Furthermore, Minister Haider said that the government is committed to taking decisive steps at the national level.
Minister of Transport and Civil Aviation Mohammad Amin states that the Dash 8 aircraft will meet the demand for the ambulance services despite the discontinuation of seaplane-based services.
The minister explained that the seaplane previously used for air ambulance purposes has been authorized to conduct commercial flights due to the Dash 8's capability to handle air ambulance services effectively. Speaking at a program aired on PSMNEWS, Minister Amin noted that since the Dash 8 began operations, there has been a significant reduction in the demand for seaplane air ambulance services. The minister pointed out that the Dash 8's ability to meet the demand for air ambulance services resulted in the seaplane not operating in some months. Therefore, the seaplane was issued permit to carry out commercial flights as it otherwise would not be advantageous for the government. Furthermore, Minister Amin said that although the seaplane services have been changed, President Dr. Mohammad Moizu has emphasized that emergency situations must remain a priority in daily scheduling. He revealed that the national airline Maldivian was informed of the change as well. The ambulance services officially commenced on March 1st, utilizing both the Dash 8 aircraft and a seaplane in accordance with President Dr. Moizu's commitment. Minister Amin has urged the public to avoid spreading misinformation about this important initiative, which aims to improve services for residents.
The National Fish Factory Maldives Industrial Fisheries Company Limited MIFCO decides to provide fishing boats with 3 tons of ice. MIFCO stated that the initiative to provide fishing boats with 3 tons of ice from the ice plant situated in Thinadhu city aims to encourage fishermen to go fishing. The company disclosed that the ice will be continuously supplied to fishing boats until the depletion of the respective stocks. Although the fisheries industry faced a reduction in productivity previously, MIFCO revealed that the industry has started to see improvements. As such, the amount of fish weighed by MIFCO has also increased. Meanwhile, the government is exerting efforts to enhance the fisheries industry. The Maldives Monetary Authority MMA dismisses recent media reports alleging that the country's usable reserves are depleted, calling the claims false and misleading.
The central bank assured that reserves are expected to rise by the end of August compared to July. The MMA emphasized its commitment to transparency, noting that it publishes reserve data monthly. The authority expressed concern over the inaccuracies in the media reports and reaffirmed that the projections indicate an increase in usable reserves by the end of August. Minister of Economic Development and Trade Mohammad Said also refuted claims of diminishing dollar reserves. The MMA clarified that the dollars deposited in the Sovereign Development Fund (SDF) are counted in the reserves in line with the 2019 agreement between the MMA and the Ministry of Finance. Starting December 2023, foreign exchange in the SDF will be held in dollars rather than deposited with the MMA. As of July, available reserves were $45 million, excluding an additional $65 million in the SDF. The MMA anticipates that government initiatives to boost foreign exchange deposits in the SDF will further increase these reserves. Additionally, improved performance in the tourism sector is expected to positively impact reserves for the remainder of the year. The government is actively seeking external financing to support foreign exchange transactions involving government and state-owned enterprises. The MMA is exploring currency swap arrangements, which have been used in recent years to enhance foreign currency liquidity. A swap line is anticipated to provide up to $400 million in financing, with $100 million already utilized to bolster reserves in 2023. Under the leadership of Governor Ahmad Munawar, the MMA continues to collaborate with government ministries, particularly the Finance Ministry, to strengthen the economy and ensure financial stability.
Labor Department data shows that the U.S. job market was probably cooler than expected in the year through March, signaling weaker but still positive growth.
U.S. employers were estimated to have added 818,000 fewer jobs than initially reported for the 12-month period, meaning job growth in the world's biggest economy was lowered by around 68,000 per month. While this marks a significant decline, it was less dramatic than the loss of up to 1 million predicted by some economists and could be revised further. EY chief economist Gregory Jaco said that they are looking at something that is significantly cooler than previously, but still positive and still relatively robust. He added that the nuance there is very important and that the data does not point to a weak labor market. These initial benchmark revisions are done annually, with the final numbers due in early 2025. But the figures drew heightened scrutiny ahead of November's presidential election, given voters' concerns about the economy and expectations that the Federal Reserve would make its first post-pandemic interest rate cuts starting September. Deco also cautioned that this does not mean a larger 50 basis point rate cut by the central bank is a done deal unless the government's payroll report for August shows further weakness or inflation slows more quickly. July hiring data that undershot expectations alongside an uptick in the unemployment rate triggered alarm earlier this month and sent stock markets into a panic over recession fears. Markets have rebounded since, on further reports that reassured traders of the economy's health. Navy Federal Credit Union corporate economist Robert Frick said that it does not challenge the idea they are still in an expansion, but it does signal they should expect monthly job growth to be more muted and put extra pressure on the Fed to cut rates.
The Gaza Strip's first recorded polio case in 25 years has held workers and aid agencies grappling with the steep obstacles to conducting mass vaccination in the war-torn Palestinian territory.
Unrelenting airstrikes by Israel more than 10 months into its war against Gaza rulers Hamas, restrictions of aid entering the besieged territory, and hot summer temperatures all threaten the viability of a life-saving inoculation drive. Still, equipment to support the extensive campaign, which UN agencies say could start on August 31st, has already arrived in the region. The Palestinian Health Ministry in the occupied West Bank said last week that tests in Jordan had confirmed polio in an unvaccinated 10-month-old baby from central Gaza. According to the United Nations, Gaza had not registered a case for 25 years, although type 2 polio virus was detected in samples collected from the territory's wastewater in June. Poliovirus is highly infectious and most often spread through sewage and contaminated water, an increasingly common problem in Gaza as the Israel-Hamas war drags on. The disease mainly affects children under the age of 5. It can cause deformities and paralysis and is potentially fatal. UN bodies, the World Health Organization (WHO) and the Children's Agency (UNICEF) say they have detailed plans to vaccinate 640,000 children across Gaza. But a major challenge remains Israel's devastating military campaign. Under the UN plan, 2,700 health workers in 708 teams would take part, with the WHO overseeing the effort. UNICEF would ensure the cold supply chain as vaccines are brought into and distributed across Gaza.
Novak Djokovic fired up his emotional Olympic Games triumph, targets new Grand Slam records at the US Open as title. Rival Jannik Sinner arrives in New York dogged by questions over 2 positive drug tests.
Defending champion Djokovic can become the oldest Open-era champion at the tournament if he secures a 5th title, a record he would share with Jimmy Connors, Pete Sampras and Roger Federer. The 37-year-old would also move to 25 Grand Slam triumphs, taking him clear of the 24 he currently shares with Margaret Court. The final major of the year comes at a critical time for Djokovic. This year he was succeeded as Australian Open champion by Sinner, who also relieved him of his world #1 ranking. Carlos Alcaraz took his French Open title with the Spanish crowd pleaser, then sweeping Djokovic off court in a one-sided Wimbledon final. However, Djokovic returned to the clay courts of Roland Garros to stun Alcaraz in the Olympic final. His tearful victory in Paris allowed him to become only the 5th player to complete a career Golden Slam of all 4 majors and Olympic gold. The victory also silenced the increasing number of doubters who had written off the Serb as a spent force in a new era where Sinner, 23 years, and 21-year-old Alcaraz are steadily moving center stage. Djokovic, who underwent surgery on his right knee in June, described his Olympic victory as his biggest sporting success. It was also the 99th title of his professional career.
Microsoft holds its biggest video game stand ever at the sector trade show Gamescom in Germany, aiming to win over players after several rocky months of studio closures and rising fees.
Xbox chief Phil Spencer said during a live event at the show that they run a business, and it is definitely true inside of Microsoft. The bar is really high for them in terms of delivery that they have to give back to the company. Microsoft took fans by surprise when announcing that its year-end blockbuster, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, initially meant to be an exclusive for its Xbox console, would also be made available on rival Sony's PlayStation 5 in spring 2025. The decision follows a shift that began in February, with 4 of its games being made available to rival consoles, marking a strategic turning point to attract players to Xbox with exclusive titles. The move is aimed at increasing the profitability of its games amid flagging console sales. After completing in October the $69 billion takeover of gaming publisher Activision Blizzard, maker of gaming hits such as Call of Duty and Candy Crush, Microsoft has faced a series of hurdles. The takeover resulted in cuts of 1,900 jobs in January. Then in May, Microsoft closed 4 studios of publisher Bethesda, which it acquired in 2020 as part of a $7.5 billion investment. The announcement of the upcoming release of Call of Duty Black Ops 6, the first in the series to be available on Microsoft platform Game Pass, coincided with an increase in service fees. At the end of February, the service had about 34 million users, far short of its goal of reaching 100 million clients by 2030. An analyst for market research, Matt Pescatella, says the move to release Call of Duty on Game Pass is Microsoft pushing all of their chips in. He also said that Call of Duty's performance on the platform will determine the future of the formula and its viability.
That's all the news we have for today. Thank you all for watching.